I've studied the paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, stuff like that for many, many years. And I've had some strange things happen to me. The strangest by far happened to me about 10 years ago. At the time, I'd been reading a book by Timothy Good, the well known UFO author. And in this book, he described a meeting he had with what he believed to be a being from another dimension in New York. And what he did was telepathically put out a shout out and said, if there are any interdimensional beings in the vicinity, please make yourself known to me. At the time, he was in the lobby of a hotel in New York, very crowded, bustling hotel lobby of a large hotel in New York. After a few minutes after he put this shout out telepathically, what appeared to be a young woman approached him. She walked right up to him in the middle of the hotel lobby. He was sitting down with some friends at a table in some sort of armchairs, settee type thing. And this, what appeared to be a young woman, came up, walked right up to him, bowed, turned around and walked away. And he said that this was a bit of a mystery. Anyway, I'd been reading this book, and then one day when I was out first thing in the morning. It was middle of winter. It was very dark still. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning, but still pitch black. Very, very cold. And I was taking my dog for a walk. And at the time, I was walking up a path, very lone little path near to my house. And I decided to try the same experiment that Tim Good had done. So psychically, telepathically, I put out a shout to any beings in the area to make themselves known to me. And just so that I could identify them, I asked if they would carry a newspaper. I progressed further up this path, and it got lonelier and lonelier and darker and darker. I never thought anything of it. However, a few minutes later, out of the darkness came a figure. Not very unusual. People are going to work at that time of the morning. There was something strange about this figure, and I noticed it straight away. There was something about the person's demeanour that didn't look right. I waited till this figure got closer and closer, and I noticed all his clothing was the same grey colour, and he got a hood on, almost as large as a monk's cowl, that was almost covering his face. The strange thing was that he was carrying a newspaper, but he was carrying it in a rather strange way. He was carrying it as if he was carrying a tea tray, with both arms extended like so, with the newspaper between his two hands. And he approached me like this, in this completely unusual way. Nobody carries a newspaper in that manner. I've never seen anybody carry a newspaper like that. Normally, most people would put it under their arm, rolled up, or they'd have it in one hand, or something like that, or in their pocket. I've never seen anybody carrying a newspaper with two hands outstretched, as if they're carrying a tea tray. But things were about to get even stranger. As this figure got closer and closer, the feeling of unease grew and grew within me. Not only was it his dress that was odd, the darkness of the lane didn't help. The fact it was pitch black still didn't help. The really strange thing, the strangest thing of all, was about to happen. As this figure got close to me, I looked at his face. The only problem was, he didn't have one. He had a head that you could see, but he had no facial features at all. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. It was as if he'd got some flesh-coloured stocking over his head so that it masked his features completely. The strange thing was, I wasn't actually frightened. I was more curious and rather amazed by what was happening. But the figure was getting closer and closer. And as he got almost level to me, I could tell, yes, he had no face. As he came towards me, I realised he'd have to pass me because there wasn't room for him to go anywhere else. And as he came right up to me, telepathically, I sent one word answer or one word communication to him. And I just thought of the word acknowledged. And I thought by doing that, I'd confirmed that I realised that he'd know that I realised who he was. The figure silently walked past me. At that point, he went out of my view because I was looking straight ahead of me and he'd gone behind me by this time. I then got an uncontrollable urge to turn around. Now, this figure could have only walked about 4 or 5 paces in the time from me losing sight of him as he walked past to me turning round. I turned round, fully expecting to see this figure disappearing up this lane because there was no way out. It was a lane that would got very high fences and trees and what have you on either side. There was no way that anybody could get out of there. So you imagine how I felt. As I turned round, having only just a couple of seconds before lost sight of him as he came past me, I turned round and there was no one there. It's as if he had disappeared into thin air. To this day, I have no idea what that was. But I know one thing, it wasn't a human being, because there is no way that a person could have disappeared as quickly as that. And that doesn't count into the equation the fact that the guy had no face and the strange way that he was carrying a newspaper. Suffice to say, I've never tried to repeat this little experiment ever again, nor will I, because I, for one, have no idea what that being was, or where it had come from, and where it disappeared to. If you can give me an explanation for this, you're a better person than I am, because I have no idea. But if you do know, or you think you know, put a comment in the box below. In the meantime, don't have nightmares.